You noble diggers, all stand up now.
Welcome, comrade. Never forget the forms.
Hello my friends and welcome to my channel. Today we will be talking about who's the best general in history, at the risk of being exposed to accusations of red fascism or red Napoleonism. I don't know. I need to appease the gods of the algorithm, and there are just inordinate amounts of military history chuds out there who might, find this channel like truffle pigs. So this is my sacrifice to them. But I'm going to talk about the best generals in history. I got three examples. I'm doing the best, and I'm trying to do it objectively, kind of. Um, if it was favorite, I think it would be different. Um, but best and favorite often intersect, and you can't often separate the two. But I think the best way, and the way I'm going to explain it, is that yes, LeBron James is probably the best basketball player to ever do it. But if I was to pick a favorite, if we're picking teams off the lot, Derrick Rose in his prime is the best basketball player to ever do it. Right? If we're making NBA 2K teams, I'm picking Derrick Rose. And this doesn't make any sense because he blew it. He blew both his ACL tendons. ACL, is it a tendon? Doesn't matter. And it blew the athleticism that was the key to his talent. And so he never had the career required to prove that he was the best. And so these guys at least have the proof that they're the best. But there's probably people who lost that I like more. So first, we're going to talk about Edward III. I picked Edward III for three reasons. First, he has a naval victory where he's outnumbered, and he develops the naval tactic that if you trace naval combat in the North Sea, in the Atlantic Ocean, it's basically the naval combat strategy that the British stay with for the next 700 years, which is let's get at them, go get them. And it's called the Battle of Sluis, and he leads a fleet into a harbored fleet and captures basically the whole fleet. And then the second battle that he is a part of, Edward III, is the Battle of Crecy. And this is where he develops the land battle formation that Britain uses, basically, if you trace it, anywhere on Earth for the next 700 years, which is the thin red line. He draws himself out in a thin line on a hill, dares the enemy to knock him off it, and as they approach over open ground, they get decimated by missiles, we'll call them. Because later it's bullets and arrows, and yeah, missiles works. Next, we have my favorite Napoleonic general. Napoleon's not on the list, honorable mention, but strategy is part of the whole thing. And Napoleon makes so many strategic blunders that it's hard to appreciate him as a commander of men. Obviously, the two obvious ones are why go into Russia and why go into Spain. But the real one that has cemented it in my mind is why capture Malta? Why do that? Only delusionality can lead you there. Only a hunger for your own personal glory. I'd have bribed them. I'd have given them a lot of money to tell them that, to tell the British who were to arrive shortly after that I was going to Constantinople instead of Alexandria, and maybe give the fleet a chance to retreat back to Toulon after having dropped me off in Alexandria. the loss of the fleet at the Battle of the Nile is Napoleon's fault, and probably the reason why Napoleon was unable to overcome. Without that fleet that's destroyed at the Battle of the Nile, the Battle of Trafalgar goes easily one way for the British over the Franco-Spanish alliance. What a tangent. The best general from the Napoleonic era is Marshal Davout, who is called the Iron Marshal, one of Napoleon's marshals. He's the best marshal because there's 2 battles that he takes part in. He's also got some campaigns that he takes part in where he's highly decorated, and he's missing from the 100 Days campaign, and if he had been there, the Waterloo campaign, and if he had been there, he probably would have won. But the 2 battles that he takes part in are Austerlitz and Jena Auerstadt. Austerlitz is Napoleon's masterpiece. The Ulm campaign is Napoleon's masterpiece. But the Battle of Austerlitz is the conclusion of the Ulm campaign, is the natural, logical conclusion of the Ulm campaign. Yeah. Anyways, it's a set piece battle, a pitched battle, but Marshal Davout is not there for the start of it. And what's impressive is that over 2 days he marches his corps 70 kilometers through the sleet, through the snow. I think the battle was December 5th. I didn't look. And so 2 days before December 3rd to December 5th, you're marching through the worst weather of the year, right? Wet, cold. You ever tried to make men march 70 kilometers? What's that in miles for you Americans? Probably like 18 miles a day, 30, 35, 36 kilometers, 36 miles, sorry, total. It's probably less than that though. It's like 2.3. But anyways, it's about that, right? And yeah, that's very impressive.
Why is it Grouchy does only 6 miles a day and I do 10?
Getting men to march that far, and then at the end of it, cold and hungry and tired, and they fight the Russian attack off, the main Russian attack. Incredible. But not as incredible as Jena Auerstadt. Jena Auerstadt is 2 battles. The corps system Napoleon uses allows the corps to march dispersed, and Davout finds himself isolated on the right wing, and a battle with a separate portion of the Prussian army between Napoleon and a couple of his corps, and like the vanguard or the rear guard of the Prussian army takes place. And Napoleon thinks that's the main action. But way off to the right, Marshal Davout forms up in a line and slaps the Prussians. The main Prussians advance on him. The main Prussian body, the main Prussian host, advances on him, but not as one and in waves. And so his line, his thin line that he's drawn up, is able to repulse these guys as they advance. Because as they're advancing, they're firing at them, and when they get close enough, they'll just beat them off. Who's ever left, whoever gets close enough. Those 2 battles are very impressive, but the Jena Auerstadt battle is what's really impressive, and it's the most influential on my thinking of all warfare. Is that victory by Davout. I don't think it's ever been said in French, but I say it to myself in French. Marcher en ligne et bataille en autre ligne. Right? March in one line and fight in the other line. You march like this and you fight like this. It's very simple. There's a general, it's apocryphal, I don't think he said it, but the founder of the Ku Klux Klan, Nathan Bedford Forrest, said the key to all warfare is you get there firstest with the mostest. Draw yourself up in a line and dare the enemy to come get you. The key to all warfare. Unless you're a genius, unless you're way better than everybody else. And that brings us to the final general I'm going to talk about. The best general in all history is Hannibal Barca. There's a story. Scipio Africanus, the guy who defeated Hannibal, runs into Hannibal in exile in some kingdom in the east. Mithridates, doesn't matter. Could be Seleucid. Scipio asks Hannibal who he thinks the best general of all time is. Obviously trying to get him to admit that Scipio is better than Hannibal. Hannibal goes Alexander, Pyrrhus of Epirus, and then himself. And Scipio says, "How can you be better than me? If you didn't defeat me?" And Hannibal goes, "If I defeated you, I'd be better than Alexander." And he doesn't need that false humility. He is better than Alexander. There is no battle that Alexander conducts that is anywhere as impressive as the operations as Hannibal Barca did. Gaugamela and the Battle of the Hydaspes are probably Alexander's most impressive victories. Gaugamela is where he extends his right wing and using a screen of skirmishers and light cavalry is able to attack with his right wing of cavalry straight at the center of Darius the emperor. And because Darius flees the battlefield rather than face Alexander, the whole Persian army host loses cohesion and willpower and hope, and so Alexander's able to win that battle. And then in the other battle, Hydaspes, Alexander screens a river and then crosses with another corps to surround an enemy. It's quite impressive corps battle tactics in the ancient world. But no one understood the physics of warfare like Hannibal. It is scientific. It wasn't scientific though, but it's an artful understanding that crosses into like an appropriation of reality that is on the level of science. How can he know what morale is and how men march? Every victory is so impressive. The two victories I'm going to talk about are Cannae and Lake Trasimene. They happen in reverse order. Trasimene is first and Cannae is second. Cannae is always touted as his most impressive victory. It is the one that most generals look to in history because they want the double envelopment. He puts his strongest infantry on the wings and his weaker infantry in the center, and the center buckles and the wings come in around the Romans and they encircle and destroy all of them. That's impressive, and is definitely been emulated time and time again. But you need an opponent who is impetuous, who thinks themselves the king of battle, who wants to come at you. It requires conditions to be right, and those conditions are almost never met anymore. Everyone's too smart, everyone's too cautious, skirmishing. We live in the post-Turenne world, right, where Vicomte de Turenne, which is small skirmishes, fortresses, strong points, professional armies. We've never really moved beyond that. That even the great clashes of Napoleonic and World War I armies were just wastes of men, and that had they fought like Turenne, that things would have been better. But anyways, back to Hannibal. Hannibal's most impressive victory is Lake Trasimene, because he understands the march, which is what will the troops look like after I wind them like a snake through the hills, right? And he ends up, there's this hill leading down to a lake, and there's this gap, and so he camps his troops right at the gap, and the Romans are going to come and try and fight them at that gap. He leaves a token force there and marches in the night his troops up into the hills around the Romans on the reverse slope. It's so impressive. It's not until the mid 1700s that and Frederick the Great that we're talking about how armies, what's the word I'm looking for, assemble after the march. There's always pitched battles, and even if the pitched battles develop from skirmishes, there's never a colliding of armies, because what you have is just so unwieldy, right? When you cross into the 50,000 troops range, trying to direct it is much more art than science, right? Every man under your command is a panicky little boy, a hog, and they squeal and they get frightened very easily. And yeah, so managing their morale and their spirits is the whole thing, the key. Where are they standing? How close are they to their brothers, right? What's the dirt look like in front of them? They got to climb up a hill, they got to run down a hill, is it a flat surface? That kind of mastery is so cool. So I appreciate Hannibal's false humility, but clearly the best general in history. And you can tell it's false humility because he put himself behind Pyrrhus of Epirus, who was a terrible general.
Field of glory is never a pretty sight.
6 months of ground has been won. 500,000 men are gone. And as the men crawl, the general call, and the killing carried on. And on. What was the purpose of it all? Was the price of a mile?
Thank you. Have a great day. Hello, you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you. This channel has one mission: to prevent civilizational collapse associated with climate change, to prevent 100 million refugees by 2035, to stop 7 billion from starving to death by 2075. And we will do this through one main vehicle. We mean to unite the Anglosphere. We will do this by convincing the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III to apply for statehood as one. And then with this new power, we will be able to negotiate in good faith with the rest of the world on how to tackle this crisis. Thank you and enjoy.